Microphone check. We in the building. Where y'all at? Let's get it. Let's get the show started. I had a few things that I wanted to discuss. Let's get it. I appreciate everybody. Much love to you all. Much love to you all. Tap on in. Let's be about that business. Get on up in here. Let's go. Man. Now, the fallout to me, soon as soon as we get some people up in here, man, we're gonna dive into the conversation. The fallout, could be based on a few different things, but I believe this has something to do with it, right? Now, Marquette said that this is what Marquette said. I'm gonna let you people get up in here and I'm gonna dive into the conversation. We're gonna bring you guys up in here, man. Reg Dog 89, what's popping, man? What's popping? Steffi, what's good, Steffi? Mike Bailey, Steffi. Shout out to my people. This right here is not really that hard to see. I mean, you could it's easy. You know, when you understand certain things about people, a lot of things start to make sense. Like we already know what type of person that Myron is. We already know how fresh and fit really are. There's some socially awkward guys who made a lot of money on the internet. And when Gang Goofy Gilligan's get money, you're gonna see a whole lot of effery. But that's what happens when Gang Goofy Gilligan's get money. You see the effery. You see the buffoonery play itself out. Now you got a bunch of beta males who are teaching alpha males about female nature and how to become masculine men. Pure insanity. But I said it yesterday. People in today's society are slow. All you got to do is have money and people will believe anything you say. So if you want to manipulate the people, if you want to fool some people, get somebody with money and promote them, and they could mislead the people. It'd be easy for them to mislead the people. You know? We live in a society where people believe in other people based on money, not based on character. And Fresh and Fit has finessed a lot of men out of money with these fake masculinity courses, right? Listen, man, you got two socially awkward beta males selling you masculinity courses. They have scammed you 100%. And the crazy part about it is you got absent-minded people who actually bought those courses, who fell for it. Crazy. And another thing is this, you have to understand a lot of nerds have came to social media and made a lot of money. And let me tell you something, nerds are better at social media than real street cats. Guys who actually get out here and speak to females, nerds are better at social media. So when they become successful on social media, people who don't know any better, they look at these people's success and say, well, they must know what they're doing. They're successful. There's a whole bunch of nerds who there's a lot of nerds who became successful on the internet. It doesn't mean that they have game when it comes to women. Just because he found a way to make money on social media. Come on, people, wake up and quit being dumb. There's a lot of nerds who found a way to become successful on social media. It doesn't mean that he qualifies to give you advice on women. Lord Jesus. I swear to you, man, a lot of these people are just slow. I shouldn't even have to say this, man. This should be common knowledge. I shouldn't even have to break this down. Everybody should say, yeah, man. See, once you get money, bullshit sounds believable. Bullshit looks believable. It's easy to hide. It's easy to hide behind a lie when you have money. You can deceive people easily with money. Why? Because it goes back to what I said. Most absent-minded people in today's society believe anything. If you got money, they'll believe anything you have to say. Unfortunately, that's the truth. Now, I want to get into this clip right here. This clip right here was this is when Cooley and Marquette was talking about the Piers Morgan thing and how Myron has no business speaking for foundational Black Americans. Why would Piers Morgan bring a non-FBA on his panel, well, on his show to speak on FBA issues? It makes no sense. Myron is not qualified for the conversation. I truly believe that when Marquette said that Myron wasn't qualified for the conversation, Myron got offended. He felt some type of way about it. That's my honest opinion. But in reality, Marquette was just being honest. That's like Marquette speaking for Sudanese people. Why would Marquette want to speak for Sudanese people? Get somebody from Sudan to speak for Sudanese people. Get a foundational Black American to speak for foundational Black Americans. We're not going to let people who are not FBA speak for us. It makes no sense. I'm not going to go to Jamaica and speak for Jamaican people. I'm not going to go to Africa and speak for African people. It wouldn't make sense. I mean, literally, it makes no sense at all whatsoever. It's all about respect, man. And the thing is this: Myron has overstepped his boundaries for Myron has overstepped his boundaries for so long, so much to the point to where when he's told to stay out of FBA business, he gets offended. Instead of him saying, okay, my nigga, you got it, player, he gets offended. But guess what? Myron is entitled. We've allowed Myron in our community, and he's been speaking for foundational Black Americans for the last 7 years. So in his mind, well, if I've been doing it, why is it a problem now? I've been doing it, so why is it a problem now? So Myron more than likely is looking at Marquette like Marquette switched up on him, because Myron can say, well, hold on, Marquette, I've been speaking this way. How come all of a sudden you got a problem with me talking about this now? I've been doing it. This is why you got to nip stuff in the bud the moment it happens, because when you allow people to get away with it, it becomes normal. And when you check it later, they get offended. Like, hold on, why you checking me now, homie? I've been doing this. So fresh and fit, Myron, he's going to look at it like Marquette somehow switched up on him, when in reality, Marquette was just being honest with him. Like, you have no business speaking on FBA issues. You're not a foundational Black American. But at the same time, if I was to give Marquette some advice, I would have told Marquette, you should have nipped this in the bud a long time ago. The moment Myron started talking greasy about FBA and doing goofy stuff, you should have told him a long time ago, if you don't stop doing this goofy stuff, you're going to force me to put you on blast. You're going to force me to put you on blast. Stop this goofiness now. Myron has gotten away with it for so long. Now he feels like Saint ain't got the right to call him out for it because he's been doing it. Let's continue. Check this out.
We all make jokes. We all are racist to some degree. Now, how racist you are is a whole other situation, but everyone is racist. That's number one. Next thing I want to say, see, I think this Shiloh Hendricks.
I agree with that part, what Myron said. You know, when he's saying, you know, everyone has a little bit of races in them, you know, stereotypes, you know, they have some biases and stuff like that. That part is true. But that's much different than how she's been explaining and expounding on her points during this interview. She pretty much confirmed that her racist is different than the type of racist that Myron is talking about. Her racist is, no,
Myron was born in America, but he's not a foundational Black American, right? He has immigrant parents, right? And listen, I'm not mad at that. Now, you could say someone would say that Myron's not even a black American. Some people would say he's an Arab. Right? Some people would say he's an Arab. He's not even a black person. Myron can't even speak from, listen, let's say you got people from Africa, Jamaica, Haiti, and they was raised in America. They have a black American experience because they're black people. They may not be foundational black American, but they're still black folks, right? I don't even think Myron is black. I believe Myron is an Arab. So Myron was the last person they should have brought up here to speak on FBA issues. He don't qualify.
Am racist, I insult black people. She never said nothing differently. I use the N-word, this is what I do. So
right, he's not even, listen, Myron's not even a black man. He's not even a black American. Myron is an Arab. He's an Arab who pretends to be black whenever it's convenient. Yeah, man, you got to keep people like this out of FBA business. In my honest opinion, Myron got offended when Marquette said he needed to mind his business and stay up out of FBA business. In my honest opinion, Myron got offended, and that's where their friendship took a turn, took a detour. The relationship started to fizzle, right? Because in Myron's mind, he like, oh, you claiming FBA now? You're calling me out? So Myron looked at it like, okay, Marquette is switched up on me. This is why I tell you people, when you build a relationship with somebody, you got to be like that from the gate. You got to be like that from the rip. Now, Marquette will say, well, when I first met Myron, he wasn't doing none of this stuff. He wasn't doing these shenanigans. He started doing this later on in our friendship. That's what Marquette is going to say. But we could say, well, hold on, Marquette. Fresh and Fit has been goofy for the last 3 years. He didn't become goofy 1 year ago. He didn't become goofy 6 months ago. The guy's been goofy for a long time. We've been calling Myron out for being goofy for years now. So if we've been calling him out, that means that you had enough common sense to see what we seen. You just stayed quiet about it. And Marquette will say, well, when I'm friends with somebody, I don't put them on blast. But let me say this. If somebody's your friend and they're going against the rules and going against the protocol and disrespecting foundational black Americans, I don't care if this is your friend. He has to be checked right there on the spot. Because when disrespect goes unchecked, it gets out of hand. When disrespect goes unchecked, it gets way out of hand. And the situation with Myron is a prime example. Myron's been hanging around foundational black Americans while disrespecting foundational black Americans. He got comfortable doing it because most of the FBA people around him never said anything. Most of the FBA people around him never said anything to him. So Myron felt like, oh, it's okay for me to talk greasy about FBA because my FBA friends that I have, they're not saying anything about it. So I'm going to continue to do it. Myron got comfortable disrespecting foundational black Americans because his FBA friends did not check him right from the rip. They didn't do it. He got comfortable. He got very comfortable disrespecting us. So to all you FBA brothers that's been hanging around Myron, you guys are responsible for this monster because you guys allowed him. You guys have allowed him to get away with this for so long. When a sickness goes untreated, it gets worse. Myron's a prime example.
I think that Myron, what he's saying is facts right here, but it's general facts. Let's continue on.
And Metcalf's situation is a microcosm of a much bigger problem. And that bigger problem is what I call systemic organizing. And what I mean by this is for decades, we've had black people literally running around with black supremacy, committing crimes, not getting accountability for their actions, and then they blame the system for it. For example, George Floyd.
Let me show you how stupid this dumbass is. Black people committing crimes and not getting held accountable. There's a lot of black people in prison. And so if you go to prison for committing a crime, you're being held accountable, you idiot. What are you talking? What are you talking about? If you look at things per capita, if you take 50 white men and 50 black men. You're going to have more black men that's incarcerated than white men if you're judging it per capita, right? So that means that we're being held accountable for the crimes we commit. There's no such thing as black supremacy. See, this is why this idiot should have been shut down a long time ago. There's no such thing as black supremacy. Black people don't make the laws in this country. Black people never oppressed anybody in this country. So there's no such thing as black supremacy, you idiot. Name a group or a race that black people have oppressed in this country. Name one. White folks ain't never lived under Jim Crow laws. We never created laws to enslave white people. We never created laws to make white people operate under Jim Crow. So where's this black supremacy that this idiot is talking about? It doesn't exist.
Criminal. Ferguson, criminals. Freddie Gray, criminal. A lot of these people are criminals, and what ends up happening is they challenge the police officer, they get into a physical altercation, things go left, they die, something happens, use of force is utilized, and then they want to cry about the result, when in reality, it's not the police killing black people, it's black people killing black people. And if you want to talk about black on white violence.
Well, white people kill white people. Who's the biggest unaliver of white people? White people. Every time there was an attempt on Donald Trump's life, it was a white man who tried to eliminate Donald Trump. Who unalived Charlie Kirk? It was a white man. Who unalived JFK? A white man. So these are weak arguments. Everything that he's saying about black folks, we can point the finger and say, well, hold on, white men are the biggest threat to other white men. Who shot up that white church in Michigan? It was a white man. Who unalived those people at that church? It was a white man. Who shot up that Catholic school in was it Minneapolis, Minnesota, somewhere last year? It was a white guy who did it. Who shot up Florida State University and shot all those white folks? It was a white guy who did it. Like, come on now.
Black people kill white people 2 times as much. And on top of that, most of the shootings in America, a lot of the times, are white people killing, white cops killing other unarmed white men. So this whole systemic race.
Because whites are the majority, so of course they're gonna have run-ins with one another. But we're talking about the violence that spills off, like white men harming black people. That happens a lot too, and most of the time it's unjustified. Some cases can be justified depending on the situation. Maybe the guy pointed a gun at the police. Okay, we get that. But we have many cases where white police officers have unalived, unarmed black people. And if you study the history of this country, black people have been lynched, hung, thrown in prison on trumped up charges, dealing with this corrupt system, dealing with the government. So black people would have a reason to feel a certain way about white folks just based on the history of this country. We've never did anything to set white folks back in America. White people dislike us just based on the fact that they were raised that way. It's a part of their culture. Anti-blackness is a part of their culture. But we never did anything to white people for them to hate us the way that they hate us. They were groomed that way. They were raised that way. Racism is a part of their culture, unfortunately. Do you have some white people that are cool with blacks? Yes, of course, on the individual level, but collectively, we already understand the racism that comes with white culture. If you don't believe me, study the history of this country. You ain't got to take my word for it. But black people have a reason to feel a certain way about white people just based on the history of this country. Oh, well, slavery happened 100 years ago. After slavery, black people were still getting lynched. They were still getting hung after slavery. Black people lived under Jim Crow laws for 100 years once slavery got abolished. Don't talk about racism doesn't exist no more. You a buffoon. You a damn fool if you believe that. White people, listen, we lived under Jim Crow laws for 100 years after slavery was abolished. So what does that tell you about the history of this country? What does that tell you when it comes to the nature of white people? That is systematic white supremacy, systemic racism. White folks have done everything in their power to keep you. They wanted black people to remain an underclass in this country. Bottom of the barrel. Low tier. Do we cry about racism every day on this channel? No, but we're going to be honest about the history in this country.
Racism or police brutality or, oh, it's all so messed up. The reality is this. Black people have been able to get away with a ridiculous amount of privilege in America for a very long time. They're able to be racist with impunity. They're able to call white people crackers without being challenged back. And quite
Okay, so
And white people have lynched black people, never been brought to justice. They've been able to burn down towns, never be brought to justice. Tulsa, Oklahoma was bombed in a terrorist attack by white supremacists sanctioned by the government. So you want to talk about committing crimes and getting away with it? Do you know how many blacks been unalived by racist white folks, and none of those white folks ever been brought to justice? You want to talk about somebody committing a crime and getting away with something? Man, you crazy. And my thing is this, Marquette, I got to be real with you, Marquette. You tolerated this idiot for a long time, and you're not the only one. What's the Mr. Organic guy? And a lot of you FBA brothers have tolerated this buffoonery from Myron. He's gotten away with disrespecting FBA for so long. He got comfortable doing it. And guess what? You guys were still friends with him. You were still friends with him. He got so comfortable that he got in a recliner, kicked his feet up, and he started talking greasy about FBA every chance he get. Why? Because his so-called FBA friends didn't check his ass. If y'all would have checked this goofball a long time ago, the first time he disrespected FBA, if you guys would have nipped that in the bud and said, we ain't going to tolerate that, Myron wouldn't be doing what he's doing today.
the thing on this, he says black people have gotten away with a lot of privilege. But the privilege he's explaining is, I mean, it's not really privilege. It's like, okay, I can say this, but it's not really privilege. You would say that it's an effect of what the white man has done. Because I always like to say, like, if we're going to speak about, because I see the claims that he's making right now. He's saying that, well, white people are behaving this way and saying these things, and this uproar that white people are doing, this is an effect because black people have been BLM riots. They can call a white person a cracker, which I'm against all of that too, but black people has been doing this. But then let's peel the layer back even further. Well, why are black people doing this? Well, black people are doing it now, and
black people have a reason to say the things they say about white people. I'm not saying that you should call people derogatory names and things like that, but if you study the history of this country, black folks have a reason to feel that way about white people. Look at what happened. Look at the nonsense we dealt with. We didn't wake up yesterday and say we're just going to call white people names. We're calling them names based on what our people went through in this country. Right? So we didn't wake up yesterday and say, I'm just going to call white people names for no reason. That's not the case. Study the history.
The BLM riots and all of this is because of the racism in America. What's your take on that, Marquette?
Myron's my good friend. However, everything he said was nonsensical. He hasn't made one good point.
See, this is the part right here where Saint said, well, Myron's my good friend. Why would somebody like that be a good friend? And listen, I don't have an issue with Marquette, but I got to be honest with him. All you FBA black men that was hanging around Myron, you guys tolerated him disrespecting your people. So much to the point to where he got comfortable. And once he got comfortable, the disrespect elevated to the next level. Straight up. The moment when Myron disrespected FBA for the first time, you guys were supposed to nip that in the bud instantly. But y'all didn't. Y'all sat there, y'all allowed this clown to talk greasy. So Myron said, well, shit, I got FBA friends, but I can still talk crazy about them. Well, damn, I'm going to double down on it. Once Myron realized that none of his FBA friends was checking him about the things he was saying, he continued to do it. It got worse. Eventually, it got way out of hand. So calling Myron out now only lets me know that something personal took place, because if it was about the principle, you would have checked him immediately the moment he disrespected FBA people. You don't wait till something you don't wait until something gets out of hand to then say something about it. So to all you FBA brothers who's been hanging around Myron, y'all let us down, man. Y'all let us down. You really did. All this influence we got, all this culture comes from us, and we're gonna let an Arab disrespect us, and we're gonna still hang with this dude and call somebody like that a good friend. Man, I don't get that. Foundational Black Americans we've been through a lot in this country. When you look at everything that we went through, we ain't got no damn business allowing some Arab to talk greasy about our people. That's insane. This idiot should have been checked a long time ago. But see, what I notice now, everything is about clout and money. People will overlook things if they can benefit from you personally, so they'll overlook a lot of nonsense. And I'm disappointed, man. I'm disappointed in all you FBA brothers who was hanging around this Gilligan in the first place. Myron didn't start disrespecting foundational Black Americans this year. He didn't start disrespecting foundational Black Americans last year. He's been doing it for years now. You guys haven't said a damn word about it.
Everything he said was nonsensical. He hasn't made one good point so far, and he'll still be my good friend. Even
At Marquette.
Myron's my good friend. However, everything he said was nonsensical. He hasn't made one good point so far, and he'll still be my good friend, even though
Let me check you. We're not talking about succeeding right now. We're not talking about that because you got a lot of Black people who are succeeding. So we're not talking about that. We're just talking about the history of this country and why America is the way that it is. We're not talking about the Black people who complain about not being successful. We're not talking about that. We're simply talking about the history of this country and why the United States of America is the way that it is. That's all we're talking about. Save that conversation for later, maybe for another conversation. But right now, we're speaking on the history of this country and why things are the way that they are. That's all we're doing right now. Nobody ever said that Black folks can't become successful. We're not doing that.
we disagree. So number one, when he states that everyone's racist, this is not a fact, but he's able to suggest that it is, and no one challenged that idea. That's false. I would go out and say I'm not racist at all. For example, and a lot of people, they look at Myron, and because they're provincial and inexperienced and not sophisticated or well-traveled, they look at Myron and they say, oh, he's Black. No, Myron's not Black. To me, he looks just like a dark Arab. And the reason he looks like a dark Arab is because I've traveled extensively, particularly in the Middle East and Eastern Africa and Southern Africa, and I've seen his face before many times. And so you look at his features, they're not the features of a sub-Saharan African, even though he is dark. You find dark skin in various places, whether you're talking about in India or you're talking about in Australia. We're talking about the Aborigines, the real Australians. So Myron may be dark, but he's not a Black person in the sense of he's not an African American, or he's not really properly an African. He looks just like an Arab to me. He is an Arab, and he's just a dark Arab. So when people get angry that he's not so sympathetic to Black issues, well, it's like, that's not what he identifies with. I believe his parents.
Now, this is what people are going to say about Marquette. So after all this bullshit he said, you still considered him a good friend. All this goofy stuff he's been saying, and you still considered him a good friend after all that disrespect? That's the problem right there. That's the problem right there. That's where I disagree with Marquette. I would never call somebody like that a good friend. Not somebody who constantly disrespects my people. Myron got his game from a foundational Black American, which is you. So he's soaking up game from a foundational Black American, but you allow this dude to disrespect foundational Black Americans and still call this idiot a good friend? Man, that's crazy to me. That don't make any sense. That's what lets us know that the only reason that Marquette probably called him out is because Myron did something to him. Myron left a bad taste in his mouth. So he said, you know what? The gloves are off. I'm finna call him out. Well, let me say something. Let me say this to you, Marquette. It shouldn't take for Myron to disrespect you personally to call him out. The fact that he was disrespecting foundational Black Americans all over social media, that's all the ammunition you needed to call this idiot out. Why wait until he disrespects you personally to then call him out? Why wait until he disrespects you personally to then call him out publicly? The fact that he disrespected FBA and your ancestors and what our people stood for, that was enough to call this idiot out a long time ago. And I kind of knew that. I said, a lot of these dudes that hang with Myron, they're going to wait until Myron disrespects them on a personal level, then they're going to call him out. But then FBA people going to say, hold on. So if he would have never disrespected you personally, you probably would have never said anything about him. I mean, these are just my thoughts, man. Let us know, Marquette. If Myron would have never disrespected you personally, would you have called him out? That's a good question.
The tongue was probably Arabic. And in as much as that's the case, I get it. However, I would venture to say this, with all respect for my good friend, that he shouldn't even be a part of this conversation. Piers Morgan shouldn't be in the conversation. He's not even an American. He's a goddamn Britisher. And he's therefore removed from this. Myron, he just got here yesterday, as did his parents. They're not a part of this conversation. The history of America and the racial politics, it's black and it's white. This is not to disrespect any other group. And if there wasn't two other groups that would be involved, it'd be the Native Americans, because they were here before all of us and largely got eradicated. They still exist in casinos and in reservations. Shout out to them. So they can be a part of the conversation. And then you'd have Latinos a part of the conversation. But frankly, American racial political history.
Let me tell you something, man, and let me put y'all up on game. Those of us with common sense get it, but I still have to say it. If you're hanging around somebody that's not an FBA, but they're disrespecting FBA, and you let them disrespect FBA and you never say anything, but when you wait, let's say you're cool with them and they're disrespecting FBA every chance they get. You don't say anything. But you wait until they disrespect you personally, then all of a sudden you call them out. Well, that's not a good look, because that's saying that you only care about yourself. You didn't give a damn that he disrespected FBA people in general. You really didn't say nothing. You didn't say anything until he disrespected you personally. That's a bad look right there. Myron should have been called out a long time ago. Don't wait until he disrespects you personally to then call him out publicly. Myron should have been called out a long time ago just for disrespecting foundational Black Americans in general. Don't wait until it becomes a personal issue to say something. That's all I'm saying.
Is black and white. There's not much in between. It was always a conversation between these two opposing groups, and they're not really opposing, except that the whites wanted to, oppose the blacks. And it's not every bit of the white structure. It was primarily the property class. And then the other ones just had racism, like petty racism. The property class, they owned Black people in a literal sense. But I say all that to say, number one, Myron is irrelevant. He shouldn't be speaking on these issues. These are not his issues at all. Similarly, they're not Piers Morgan's issues, but specifically with regards to Myron's arguments, they're atrocious. Saying everyone is racist, this is not a fact. Saying most people are racist, that makes sense. And then thirdly, he basically conflates a lot of things. And as a result, you can't track the arguments because he's blurring together too many things. In fact, I'd encourage you to rewind back and we can take it sentence by sentence and deconstruct the arguments.
Let's do it. Let's do it.
Gaines, because you've been smirking and laughing. What's funny about any of this?
Well, I mean, I find it interesting that
I'll skip ahead this part.
No. Let's
leave it right there.
Really
okay, let's go right there.
I'm not wagging a finger at anybody.
Marquette, you should have called this dude out a long time ago. You waited until he disrespected you personally to call him out publicly. Because if you truly cared about FBA people, you would have called them out just for disrespecting FBA in general. Like if I got a friend, let's say I got an African friend, right? Let's say I got an African friend, and he's going on, he's all on the internet disrespecting foundational Black Americans. I don't say nothing. I stay quiet about it for years. But when that same African disrespects me personally, now I decide to call him out publicly for disrespecting FBA. Now I decide to call him out for just being goofy. But then people are going to look at me and say, well, hold on, King Supreme. You knew this years ago. What took you so long to call this fool out? oh, he disrespected you on a personal level. Now you want to call him out. When in reality, you should have called this clown out a long time ago, years ago. These FBA brothers that's been hanging around with Myron tolerated his disrespect for years. They tolerated his disrespect as long as he never disrespected them on a personal level. They didn't give a damn that he was talking greasy about FBA as long as he didn't say anything about them.
He self-identified as a racist.
But Myron, with respect, Myron, I don't need to wag a finger when
And Marquette, let me know when you want to stop it.
Okay.
somebody says, yeah, I'm racist, I use the N-word against black people, I don't care. That's a racist. I'm not wagging any finger. I'm not accusing anybody. She is admitting it proudly. Even you can't defend that, surely.
Everybody is racist to some degree. The reality is,
Piers Morgan's argument. She said,
see, when people say everybody's racist, they're doing that to cover up their own nonsense. It's kind of like when you say certain things to black women about their hair, they say, well, white women do it too. That's a deflection. Clearly, that's a deflection. White women do it too. When white people say, well, black people do this, that's a deflection. They don't want you to focus on what they're doing. So in order to deflect, they'll say, well, everybody else is doing it too, while you're just focused on me. That's the mentality right there.
the N-word.
Everybody's doing it while you're just focused on me. White women are doing it too. Black people are racist too.
With the hard R, which was clearly a hateful thing. She was saying it to be malicious against the Black American. That is hate. Then Myron basically engages in a subtle red herring, very slick. He says, everyone is racist, which what he's talking about is a mitigating.
Yeah, I didn't like how Marquette disrespected Sinful the P when he passed away, because when Sinful the P was living, he was giving you that smoke. Sinful was giving you that smoke when he was alive. So when he spoke on a man when he died, I didn't respect that. So I'm being honest. I'm not letting Marquette off the hook. In my honest opinion, the only reason Marquette called out Myron, because Myron disrespected him personally. He didn't call Myron out for disrespecting foundational Black Americans in general. He only called Myron out because Myron said something negative to him or did something to him. So Marquette waited until it became a personal issue to call out Myron. But Myron's been disrespecting FBA for years, and none of these FBA brothers that hang around Myron said a damn thing about it, never said a word about it. They stayed silent.
Idea which suggests that, well, all of us have our own biases, yes, but that's a lot different than me going around calling people wet.
See, let me say this to all you Black women who get mad at what I say. I call my own brothers out all the time. I call Black men out for being Sambos. I call Black men out for not standing on FBA business. I call Black men out for gang culture. So if I can hold Black men accountable, don't get mad when it's time for me to hold you accountable. I'm holding everybody accountable. But I get it. You ready to flock to those fake FBA channels who only talk about white supremacy and tethers, but never hold the women accountable. I get it. Most Black women like to flock to those channels because those guys never hold Black women accountable for anything. I'm calling out FBA men right now. If you're listen, homie, if you're an FBA man and you was hanging around Myron and you tolerated this disrespect, shame on you. You ain't standing on business, and you need to be called out as well. I want you guys to do me a favor right now. Why don't you drop names? Yes, we're going to call out names. Put all these names in the title. Name all these FBA men that hung around Myron and tolerated this disrespect of foundational Black Americans. Put all those guys' names in the chat. If you know a foundational Black American man who's been hanging around Myron, tolerating this disrespect, and they've said nothing, put their names in the chat right now. Do King Supreme that favor. There's a lot of FBA men who are guilty for a lot of FBA men are guilty hanging around Myron, tolerating the disrespect of FBA, but still hanging with him, still saying that this dude is your good friend.
BACKS, or calling people ching chong, you know, and using all these malicious, hateful terms. If I, for example, have some inherent bias or some instinct to discriminate merely because people are unfamiliar or different, or I'm ignorant of them, or maybe I've seen a lot of stereotypes, that's a lot different than being willfully malicious. So Pierce is talking about racism that is willfully malicious, whereas Myron tries to change the topic to racism that is kind of inherent and thoughtless. So, and I can obliterate these one by one. Carrying on.
It depends on, a lot of people want to be politically correct. A lot of people want to sit there and say, I'm not racist at all. We all have biases. We all have stereotypes. We all make jokes.
Yeah, man. If you're an FBA black man and you've been hanging around Myron, your character is on trial right now. Your integrity is on trial right now. Don't wait until this idiot disrespect you personally. You should have called him out for disrespecting foundational black Americans. And if you're not willing to do that, then you're not real. You ain't standing on business. You're just pissed off with this guy based on what he did to you. Don't wait until he disrespect you personally to all of a sudden then call him out. This fool should have been called out a long time ago, years ago. Myron didn't wake up 2 months ago and say, I'm going to disrespect FBA. He's been doing it for years.
We all are racist to some degree. Now, how racist you are is a whole other situation, but everyone is racist. That's number one. Next thing I want to say, see, I think this Shiloh, Hendricks, and Metcalf situation is a microcosm of a much bigger problem. And that
this is enough.
You see all those names in the title, all those guys, all those names you see in the title, those guys are guilty. They're guilty as charged. All of them are guilty. Now, it shows me what type of, now, if I do these shows, man, as real as I've been with FBA, if I do these shows, right, and I got to tell y'all to hit the likes, I'm going to start making content for a whole nother audience. Because I'll be damned if I'm standing on FBA business and y'all listening and you watch these gang goofy Gilligans and you support that. If I got to tell y'all to bless the like button or support the content, I'm going to start making content for a whole nother audience. I promise you. Because at this point, it's ridiculous. The nonsense that goes on in these FBA spaces is ridiculous. Seriously. Tolerating disrespect until it affects you personally. Now, all of a sudden, we're going to call this dude out. And Marquette, listen to what I'm saying, brother. It ain't no smoke. I got love for you. I respect what you do, but I got to be honest with you at the same time. If we brothers, I got to be honest with you, homie. You should have called this clown out a long time ago. You know how many people they've scammed over the years? He's been able to cosplay for years and scam money out of the community. Finesse men for a whole lot of money selling these fake masculinity courses. A lot of FBA brothers, unfortunately, co-signed Myron, and that put him in a position to scam a whole lot of people. That put him in a position to cosplay.
Other thing that clearly shows that we're dealing with racism, because these two situations are very unrelated, very unrelated. Shiloh is a white woman who's in a situation that is clearly racial because she's screaming the N-word at a child, no less, a child with special needs. It's clearly a racial situation. The Austin Metcalf situation could be a racialized situation by the onlookers, because truth be told, that could have easily been a situation where Carmelo Anthony was sitting under someone's track tent. A black kid could have walked up to him like, hey, bro, you ain't even a part of this school. You're not supposed to be under this umbrella, bro. Go over there. And then Carmelo Anthony could have hunkered down and said, no, make me. And then the dude put his hands on him. Black guy put his hands on Carmelo. Carmelo pulled out that thing, hawked him. Now he's dead. There was no overt racial reality to that. It was made racial by the onlookers. So these two phenomena are not even congruous. The only reason that whites bring that up is as an excuse, is a rallying cry to circle around this white kid who is a victim and thereby aggress toward blacks. That's all.
All right, let's go to the next clip. Now, he's going to get into other reasons why he started calling them out. Now, You've seen the nonsense, in my honest opinion, that's why they fell out. In my honest opinion, that's where the fallout comes from. That's where the fallout comes from. I'll do this.
Some of the strategies and understandings in there so heavy. And
in my opinion, when Quet did that down on Myron going on Piers Morgan, I believe that was the beginning. Well, that was the beginning of the ending. Because when Myron saw that, he's like, oh, Marquette is calling me out. Marquette is saying I'm not FBA, so I can't speak on these issues. I think that's why Myron got pissed off. That could be one. That could be for. I believe there can be many reasons, but that clearly has to be one of them. Because prior to that, I've never seen Marquette call out Myron for anything. Prior to that, I've just never seen it. Now, when he did that breakdown on Myron talking to Piers Morgan, I believe Myron got offended when Marquette said that Myron shouldn't be speaking on FBA business. Myron got offended, and Myron started to say, okay, well, he's probably just like those FBA people since he's representing FBA. He wasn't representing FBA when we was friends in the beginning. Now, all of a sudden, he's talking FBA, and he's calling me out saying I can't speak on FBA business. Myron got offended about that, right? Because like I say, when people get away with something for so long, then all of a sudden you check them, they're not going to accept the fact that you are now checking them because they've gotten away with it for too long. It's entitlement.
And serious and potentially dangerous that I did not want them to be misunderstood. And for that, I did a 2-day seminar. And curiously, Vice News had actually covered.
Yeah, get the likes up, man. If we get to the hour mark, if we get to the hour mark of the show and we don't have over 200 likes, we're gonna cut the show at the hour mark because I'm not gonna play these games with y'all. You know what I mean? 300 plus people, we should have 300 likes. So I'm gonna let it go for another 15 minutes. If we ain't got at least 300 likes, we're gonna cut the show short at the hour mark. And what I'm gonna start doing is I'll start doing the hour live streams. Because we're not going to be live for 2 hours and people ain't blessing the like button and support. We're not doing that. So we'll give it another 15 minutes and we'll see what those likes are looking like. And we'll take it from there. No problem. Hit the like button. Let's get back to the content.
Came and interviewed and checked out what we do during that. It was really a good time. And I throw that in there because apparently Myron just did a documentary recently. He was like, oh yeah, they cut up the clips and made me look bad. Nigga, only you can make you look bad. Vice News tried to do it, but it didn't work because what we actually do, the substance is good. Your substance is not good. That's why they make you look bad. It wasn't them, it was you. But anyways, I say that to say the Book of Dark Truths is a 2-day seminar.
My thing is this, Marquette. I respect your business savvy. I respect your intelligence. I respect what you do, but I disagree with you on this right here. You've allowed Myron to get away with this disrespect for way too long, brother. He's gotten away with this for way too long. And in my honest opinion, you waited until he disrespected you personally to then call him out publicly. When in reality, he should have been called out a long time ago for disrespecting foundational Black Americans in general. Don't wait until it becomes a personal issue to call somebody out. That's all I'm saying. And I'm not just saying that to Marquette. I'm saying that to all of my FBA brothers, all my FBA sisters. Don't wait until it becomes personal to then call something out. Myron should have got shut down a long time ago. He's been cosplaying for a long time. He's been finessing men out of money, selling fake masculinity courses. That's what happens when you co-sign a gang Goofy Gilligan. He'll finesse the people. He'll engage in effery. He'll disrespect your whole community. He'll disrespect your lineage. And that's exactly what Myron's been doing and getting away with it.
That it was live and people were asking questions, which is what I wanted because I really wanted people to understand. You can get that at school.com/Marquette/classroom. So school.com/Marquette, click the classroom button and you can see the Book of Dark Truths there. Thank you for that question. May I also acknowledge Eric, he writes, peace to the saints. I can't let my fellow saints in San Antonio and Houston show us up.
No, they don't.
Sasson DFW checking in and supporting the work. You see, we got 3 sections in the state of Texas. We're really outside. Shout out to Sage. He writes, peace to the saints. Yes, indeed. Peace to the saints. Tony writes, I always find it comedic that people followed a man being defeated by the English language. Goddamn. And an Arab masquerading as a black man, afraid to be himself, executing the blasphemous.
Well, Myron been masquerading as a black man, but you guys allowed him to get away with it. You allowed this guy to cosplay for years. You guys allowed him to disrespect foundational black Americans for years. It's not like he just started doing this. He's been doing this.
Saint. Listen, very well put. And
Yeah.
these people are reminders that they're pathological. You know, Myron, very pathological character. Marquette, why do you say that? He is hyper-focused on talking about the blacks. And there's no doubt that the blacks have a lot of areas of improvement. No doubt. Even the whites. We all do. Now, I'd say the Asians are doing quite well, unless you're talking about the Philippines or Thailand. But aside from that, I'd say the Asians are doing reasonably well. And he obsesses over the blacks while claiming not to be one of the blacks. But the moment Sudan comes up, he doesn't want to talk at all. But it's really strange that he discusses the blacks so much because, I mean, he didn't have to be around the blacks. Now, I know that because we're in the same income bracket and I hardly ever see any blacks unless I've specifically organized to be around blacks, because black people have low educational attainment in the United States, just speaking statistically, and they are the lowest income group. Sometimes you can throw in Native Americans. The data is kind of funny because, you know, at some level they get checks and got the casino proceeds and things like that. But the blacks are kind of dead last. So if you're well off, you really don't have to deal with the blacks. Also, never forget they're only 12% of the population when you're talking about the foundational black Americans. So the question is, why the obsession over them? It's deeply pathological, but it's really based on low self-esteem. When you feel like you are not worth much, you want to feel bigger than somebody, right? Bigger than somebody, better than somebody. And so you take the easy target, which would be the blacks. And that is why he has this major obsession. 25 million people need humanitarian assistance. I absolutely hate this about foreigners. Bro need to get up out of here. We need to call ICE on this rascal. Look at these foreigners. They will pick their nose in public. It is just utterly disgusting habit. Completely uncivilized. This is from their homelands because they come from these SHIT whole countries. Look at
Well, he's been doing that, Marquette. Myron's been digging in his nose on camera. He's been disrespecting foundational black Americans. None of this stuff is new. This is old news.
Look at this foreigner. Look at this ball pick his nose like this. Watch this. Watch this. So he's drinking, ingesting things, and then goes from that to digging in his nose. But here's how you know he's really a foreigner. Only a foreigner digs in their nose in front of other people. Generally, you shouldn't dig in your nose at all. But I get you. You're in the bathroom. You're going to wash your hands right after. Okay, fine. You're in front of other people drinking and eating, and the camera's rolling, and here you are picking your nose. That is what you were raised on, you dirty rascal. You need to go back to your filthy little broke down country. Look at this foreigner. Look at this foreigner digging all in his booger box. Bro, all up in his booger box. All in his booger box. Like, man, have some decency. Have you no decency? And this is the thing about these people that come from these backward countries. And that's precisely why Lil Buddy did not want to debate with Tariq Nasheed, because Tariq Nasheed was just going to share the facts. And once the facts start coming out, all of the sudden the conversation is not interesting to Myron. It's like, Myron, we could talk about black Americans, absolutely, but can we talk about Sudan for a little bit? If you don't mind, my friend, if you don't mind.
Yeah, but Marquette, you guys should have said that a long time ago. Like, Myron, don't talk about foundational black Americans because you ain't talking about Sudanese people. Our culture made you relevant. Sudanese culture didn't make you relevant at all. So if you're not going to talk about Sudanese people, you better not say nothing about foundational Black Americans again. This conversation should have got nipped in the bud a long time ago. Don't wait until Myron disrespects you on a personal level to then call him out. He's been disrespecting FBA for years, and you guys have tolerated this stuff. You tolerated this crap. All of you Black men that's been hanging around Myron. You guys are responsible for creating this monster. Self-consciously, you told this dude that it was okay to disrespect FBA because you guys continue to deal with him after he disrespected FBA. So in Myron's mind, he felt like, well, hey, well, I guess I have carte blanche to disrespect FBA people because they're not saying anything. I've been talking greasy about FBA people for years, and guess what? I still have a whole lot of FBA friends. I mean, Marquette said it himself when he reviewed the Piers Morgan interview. He said, well, Myron is still my good friend. And this was just 3 months ago, maybe like back in December, maybe back in November. Myron's been disrespecting FBA for years, and you just said 3 or 4 months ago that he was your good friend. I don't understand how somebody like that would be your good friend. Myron is a terrible person. He's a horrible individual. He's a scammer. He's a liar. He's a manipulator. He sells fake masculinity courses to men, his fans. Nah, man.
25 million people need humanitarian assistance. They have a war that's gone on so long, it doesn't even stop. They just keep renaming the sections of the war. Like it's a book with chapters. 65% plus of the people live below the poverty line. Come on. 18 to 20 million people face acute food shortage. That's not very good. Child malnutrition rates are at 30% in some regions. Shh. Do you think maybe you should focus on fixing Sudan? Like it seemed like they need some fixing. 7 million children are not in school at all. At all. They have no schooling. Literacy rates are at a 60%. In many places, inflation is at 100%. That's bad. The currency is basically a failed currency, the Sudanese pound. So, about 1 in 3 children malnourished. I don't know, buddy. I think we need to talk about Sudan. It sounds like a more serious situation, like something we shouldn't ignore. You know what I'm saying? But this is what the Tethers do. You might say, Marquette, do you not like foreigners or international people? No, many of my friends are international business people, physicians, professionals. But what I don't like is I don't like people who are big mouth individuals who do nothing. I don't like people who want to point out what's going on over there, but they forget about what's going on here, meaning their own home. And so I think it's worth us being familiar with those things. You see, and it's comical because developed countries like, say, Botswana or Sweden, you don't see the people coming from those countries over here and then criticizing Black Americans. Well, generally, it's because they stay in their countries. So why do they stay in their countries? Because their countries are successful. So if you left your country, your people, they don't really have it together. So deal with that first. And I don't say that to disrespect the Sudanese. I have a great respect for the Sudanese. I understand they're going through a challenging situation. That's why I wouldn't take out any time and I wouldn't make an endless number of podcasts to disparage them because they have enough challenge. Yes. And what's more is our words don't ever solve anything. My words will not nourish the children there. My words will not stop the bloodshed there. And so we can see very clearly that.
Well, they've been tethers, right? Like, and this is the thing. A tether is somebody who's, it's the same as a sambo. A tether ain't nothing but a foreign sambo. What is a sambo? That's a foundational Black American who tap dances for white society. Well, what is a tether? It's a Black person who's a foreigner that tap dances for white society. But these guys been tethers. They didn't become tethers all of a sudden. They've been tethers for a long time. They've been gang goofy Gilligans and tethers for a long time. Now the people are asking, well, Marquette, why did you just now decide to call these guys out? They should have been called out a long time ago. They should have been called out a long time ago.
Myron and those like him are very much so greed focused. Oh, Marquette, how is greed? How is this greed? How's it a matter of greed, Marquette? Well, because unfortunately in the United States, you have a significant portion of white folks who are quite racist. And they're not able to give full expression to their racism. Not all of them, but those that are.
You said it right. There's a significant amount of white people who are racist because racism is a part of their culture. Now they could, oh, that's not true. Study the history of this country and you tell me that it's not true. Let's be real. It's not like, do you really think when they abolished slavery, white people said, well, we're not going to be racist no more? Absolutely not. You still had the Ku Klux Klan running around. They still put black folks under Jim Crow laws after slavery was abolished. So you lived under Jim Crow laws for 100 years. Slavery was abolished. Listen, man, 1865, slavery got abolished. The Civil Rights Bill got passed, like, was it like 1964, 1965, something like that? So you lived under Jim Crow laws for 100 years. Slavery was abolished, but you were still living in slavery. You were still in captivity, minus the damn plantation, but it was still captivity. You couldn't live here, couldn't work here, don't have certain privileges. You can't do this. So you still had a whole lot of restrictions on you, a whole lot of things that you couldn't do after slavery was abolished. Did you really think white folks were going to stop being racism? I mean, did you really think they were going to stop being racist just because you're not on the plantation no more? Were you that crazy to believe that? There's tons of white supremacist groups that exist today. The Nazi lowriders, the Aryan Brotherhood, the Aryan Circle, the Noble Knights, tons of white nationalist groups. The Southern Brotherhood, that's in Alabama, that's in the South. That's another branch from the Aryan Brotherhood, the Southern Brotherhood. There's several of white supremacist organizations that still exist today. Are you really that dumb to believe that white people just say, we're not going to be racist no more, we'll forget about that? Please, press the like button.
Aren't able to give full expression or choose not to give full expression to their racism, well, they need a mouthpiece. In comes Officer Fakem, in comes Candace Slowens, in comes the Hodge twins, in comes Myron Gaines, in comes all of these different characters to do the dirty work of the white supremacist. Fortunately, in the United States,
he's speaking on how Myron Gaines, the Hodge twins, Officer Tatum, they're doing the dirty work of the white supremacists. Well, let me tell you this, Marquette. Myron's been doing the dirty work of the white supremacists. And guess what? You had FBA men who were still hanging with them while knowing all of these things. This is common information. So Myron has been doing the dirty work for white supremacists, but yet and still foundational black American, FBA men still been hanging with him. There's a lot of FBA men who are guilty for hanging with him. You know for a fact he's been doing the white supremacist dirty work, but guess what? FBA men were still hanging with him, still tolerating this buffoonery and not saying anything about it.
United States, you have a significant portion of white folks who are quite racist, and they're not able to give full expression to their racism. Not all of them, but those that aren't able to give full expression or choose not to give full expression to their racism, well, they need a mouthpiece. In comes Officer Fakem, in comes Candace Slowens, in comes the Hodge twins, in comes Myron Gaines, in comes all of these different characters to do the dirty work of the white supremacist.
Yeah.
And the reason that these characters do the dirty work of the white supremacists is because they get paid. And it's easy to get paid being an anti-black racist while you're tap dancing for white supremacists, because whites are the majority in the United States of America. And not only are they the numerical majority, in addition to that, they're the most economically empowered. So they can afford to support you and your BS. So it makes money. So there's every incentive to do it. Come on now. Back to the lane.
Bracelet. In response to that comment, this is what your Chinese escort said. She said, our
crazy.
feelings for each other were genuine. Is there something wrong if your man loves you and buys you gifts? So Fresh, let me remind you,
Make sure that you guys bless the like button. Get the likes up, support the show. I shouldn't have to tell you. You guys should do it without it being said, because we're being real over here. We're not being biased. Right? All I'm saying is this. Myron's been doing all of this stuff for a long time. He didn't wake up yesterday and decide he was going to do it. He's been doing it. And FBA men still been hanging with him. Still hanging with him. Still co-signing him. So we got to hold a black man accountable today. I know the brothers, you love it when I hold the women accountable, but guess what? I got to hold FBA men accountable today. Marquette is not the only FBA man that's been hanging around Myron, tolerating this buffoonery for years. He ain't the only one. Some of those names was in my comment section. Some of our people dropped the names in the comment section. FBA men who's been hanging around Myron, tolerating all this disrespect. Cosplaying, selling fake masculinity courses, finessing men out of money, disrespecting the FBA community. Myron is guilty of many charges. He's a dishonorable discharge. He should have been called out years ago.
Your defense was that she was speaking in general. That's your defense. But this is proof that she wasn't speaking in general. She responded to a comment specifically naming you. That's the literal opposite.
Just real quick, I want to hear him lie some more, and then we're going to go on to the next thing. And we know he's lying because he told me the truth, and this is completely the opposite.
Name me, by the way.
Oh, yeah, and also not only is Fresh lying, Myron is also lying. So they're sitting there collectively lying to the public.
You got caught tricking.
They've been lying to the public. Got a little gnat flying around in here. I'm like, whoa, trying to get rid of this gnat. I don't know where he came from, but they've been lying. It's not like they woke up yesterday and started lying to the people. They've been doing this shit for years and getting away with it because the FBA brothers who've been hanging around them, you guys didn't say nothing. And when you guys didn't say nothing, well, he's gotten worse. Oh, the FBA brothers ain't gonna call me out. Okay, I'm gonna double down and keep saying it. Matter of fact, I'm gonna go to every platform that I can go to and disrespect FBA. Since the FBA brothers around me ain't saying nothing, I'll go from platform to platform, disparaging, disrespecting FBA people. Because the FBA brothers who's been around Myron tolerated, allowed him to get away with it for years. So of course he got comfortable. So much to the point to where he kicked his feet up in a recliner while disrespecting foundational Black Americans. You guys have tolerated this nonsense for too long. Myron felt like he can get away with it because he's been getting away with it.
Tricking.
She didn't name me at all, and it's very general.
No.
Hold on. Look at her page. Wait, hold on. See, this is where you're wrong.
The caller said you got caught tricking. The correct answer to that is, yes, I did. That's the correct answer. That's the truth. But you're not about to hear that.
Look at hold on. If you're gonna say that, I'm gonna respond and kill you right now. Look at her page in direct. I'm talking, caller. Look at her page in detail. What does she have under? Multiple gifts from herself, by the way.
And now he's trying to distract. It doesn't matter if she has multiple gifts. You paid an inordinate amount of money for Van Cleef jewelry, and now you're lying about it. And, you know, if you're a high value man, people pay for value, right? So what I'm trying to figure out is if you're a high value man, why is it that you're not receiving the gifts? You're a high value man. Why are you not being honest?
Yeah, man. Myron been doing this for years. All those FBA men that's been hanging with him, they didn't say anything. They tolerated this disrespect. They did. They did it for the money. They felt like they could gain something by being friends with Myron. That's why they said nothing when he disrespected foundational Black Americans. It all makes sense. It all makes sense. Well, I ain't gonna say nothing because I'm getting money with Myron, so I just ain't gonna say nothing. Now, if he disrespect me, then I'll say something. Unfortunately, that was the mentality. All those FBA men were hanging around Myron because they felt like it was something to gain by being around him. So they tolerated the disrespect.
Honored with gifts. Why are you not receiving offerings? Let's carry on. I just wanted to, share a few notes on him before we really get after it. Oh, and by the way, some people didn't know who Gary Coleman is. This is Walter Weeks's doppelganger right here. Oh yeah, and by the way, that one person who had wanted to come on and defend Fresh and Fit, they never did send their email. So again, you see these people are both low IQ and pretenders, which makes perfect sense because they follow pretenders. Shout out to Ernest supporting the work using the Stripe link. May I also acknowledge Dominic came in supporting via PayPal. He writes, not sure if I missed hearing my last tuition. I did definitely announce it. He writes,
yeah, man, I'm going to call out. Listen, man, I'm calling out all those FBA men who hung around Myron and never said nothing. I'm going to say this to you guys, man. The fans are goofy as well, too, because the people support some of the most goofiest people on this platform. I've seen it. I watched it. It's simple observation. The fans and subscribers support some of the fakest people on this platform. I promise you they do. This is why people do goofy shit, because they know they can get away with it. I can be goofy as hell and the fans still gonna support me. They know this. Why claim FBA now when you hung around Myron and tolerated the disrespect of foundational Black Americans? You hung around Myron and tolerated the disrespect of FBA. Now you got people who want to claim FBA now because it's a hot topic. Was you FBA when Myron was disrespecting FBA every chance he got? Was you FBA back then? Or maybe you just tolerated it because you felt like you could gain something from your friendship with Myron, so you tolerated the disrespect of FBA because you felt like there will be something to gain by being friends with Myron. So you gave a blind eye to the disrespect. A lot of FBA brothers are guilty of that.
But Sasson Atlanta appreciates the opportunity of working out at your property free of charge. Castle Club, FNF, can only imitate while making meet and greet tickets. Oh, that's a good point, man. I meant to bring that up. Yeah, by the way, Myron stole. He tried to steal. He couldn't actually do it because it takes work. It takes work to build a real community. You also have to have ideas. So he tried to steal the concept of the Sasson, and he created Castle Club. You see, in the Sasson, it's a part of your membership because I try to drive you to do things in person with real human beings, because that's where all of our joys come from, our actual memories and our strong relationships and bonds, especially as men, because we're very isolated. And he tried to bootleg that concept to make money. He didn't start that until he got demonetized. I had that from the beginning. He waited to get demonetized, and then he said, oh, I can make money on this. So he created this little bootleg concept. And then they do meet and greets, and then they charge you guys to come meet him. I mean, this is the most ridiculous thing on earth. I really despise celebrity culture. I think it's utterly ridiculous that if you're about helping people and folks have really rocked with you and supported you, that you need to charge them money to come stare at you in real life and shake your hand. I think that's utterly ridiculous. To this day, you've never one time heard of me ever have a meet and greet. Never one time in life has that happened. But what has happened is people have flown into Vegas from the UK. Guy hit me up and he said, hey, my son and I follow you. And, if you're free for lunch, I'd love to just shake your hand. Or if you have time, take you out to lunch. I said, let me shake your hand. Let me take you out to lunch. And so I took him over to the Wynn. He and his son, we had a great meal, great conversation, and then carried on. See, it's a lot different. In fact, it's quite the opposite. He charges people to shake his hand, and he's nobody. And I will take you to dinner because you've been rocking with me for a long time and I've never wanted to be a celebrity. We have a movement.
He said Marquette stole his setup from Fresh and Fit. Now, there may be some truth to that because I did see Marquette do interviews with, you know, girls on a round table. So maybe so. I don't know. Maybe Fresh and Fit got it from somebody and just blew up with it. Because think about it. Just because you hear somebody say something first doesn't mean that they're the originator of that word or this particular style of setup. A lot of times people on the internet, they'll learn something from somebody and they'll bring it to the internet because the person who created it, the originator, they're probably not even a podcaster. They're probably not even on YouTube or social media. So they'll take something and they might be the first person that brought it to YouTube, but they learned it from somewhere else. It's a whole lot of that going on. So a lot of people get credit for something that somebody else created, but the person who created it is not even a social media influencer at all. So there's a whole lot of that going on. Like I heard somebody try to say, I don't know if it was Marquette or was it Aaron the plumber. They say in a real way. I'm like, hold on, homeboy. That's a West Coast term. Pimps and Max been saying in a real way. It's crazy that a YouTuber would even say that he invented that. We've been saying that shit way back in the 90s and probably even before that. That's street terminology. That comes from Max and Pimps from the West Coast. Hey, my dog, in a real way, in a major way, in a real way. So when a YouTuber claims to have said that, for a YouTuber to claim that terminology comes from him, I said, man, people come to social media and say anything because they know that the people who watch don't really know the truth. So I don't know if Fresh and Fit originated that style of podcasting, but I will say that I've seen Fresh and Fit do it before Marquette. I will say that.
And the movement is bigger than I am, and it's way more important than I am. It's about we, it's about us. It's not about being a celebrity or being famous or even trying to act like you're better than people, because none of us are. We're all of flesh and blood. None of us are too live to die. And he's just a despicable character. Truly a despicable character. He says, Myron is live right now. People are telling
me. Them dudes was hanging around Myron because they felt like there was something to gain from hanging around him. That's why they hung around him. They felt like there will be something to gain, which is money, fans, and more exposure. So they tolerated the disrespect. You can take it to the bank. I know what I'm talking about. Yeah.
Him. He knows he's being flamed right now. He's blocking people. He's a funny guy. He's a funny fella. Anyways, thank you for reminding the audience of that one, Dominic. Now, also acknowledge Jefferson. He writes, has Jake Shields been a better friend?
That's like saying, right, shout out to Cat 6 Cable Guy. That's like somebody saying Milk invented Gilligan. If you're from the West Coast, that was a term being used in the streets way back in the 90s. A Gilligan, basically another word for a goofy. I've seen goofy ass people say Milk 74. You think that Milk 74 started the word Gilligan? You really believe that? I didn't create the word Gilligan. I heard Max and players call people Gilligan's Wave. Now, Gang Goofy Gilligan comes from me. When you hear Gang Goofy Gilligan, that comes from King Supreme, Triple G. That comes from me. But did I create the word Gilligan? No, I learned that word from hanging around the Max and players. So what I would do is I started calling people Gang Goofy Gilligans. That's a King Supreme term. That's King Supreme's terminology. That's my wordplay. Gang Goofy Gilligans come from me. But the word Gilligan, I learned that from the Max and players. So to whoever believes that Milk 74 started Gilligan, you're just a Gang Goofy Gilligan yourself.
To you than Myron. Pieces by far. And Jake Shields and I have a good relationship, and I think it's largely because we both know the power of a fade. You heard me? We know the power of a good fade. And people who really throw hands tend to be realer people. They tend to be a little closer to the ground because they know that you could have $1 million and still get your jaw broken. You could have $1 billion and still get a black eye. Shout out to Elon Musk. And it was funny because Elon Musk got a black eye from Scott Besson, and Scott Besson is a Skittle guzzler. That hurts. That is terrible. So yeah, Jake Shields actually contributes to the relationship. And so, yeah, we've had, very good relations. Pause. May I also acknowledge Irvin. He writes, Big Game Conference 2026.
Yeah, that's where it comes from. Gilligan. Gilligan was goofy. So the Maxim players in California would say, man, that dude is a Gilligan. We start calling people Gilligans. Then, of course, I've added Gang Goofy Gilligan.
To Irvin, make sure that we get you a confirmation email within 24 hours. Looking forward to seeing you again. And shout out to my confirmed saints. May I also acknowledge Civilized Barbarian, writes, Myron has been hiding his true colors all that time, but was just waiting to get big enough. Exactly. His success on the internet is largely due to black people helping and supporting him. And that just shows you how dumb. Well, actually, I'm not going to say black folks were dumb for that, because the truth is, and a lot of people act like they don't remember things. The truth is, he only became racist when it became in vogue. He had to figure that out as a lane. He didn't come into the game in that lane. He came into the game doing his best Marquette Devon Burton impersonation. He came into the game when he wasn't doing his best Marquette Devon Burton impersonation. Whatever book he just read, he would impersonate that person. That's how he came into the game. And then he transitioned to the racism. But no, it was a result.
Well, he already felt that way. He was just looking to see if he had people who agreed with him when it comes to racism. Once he realized there was a lot of people who agreed with him, then he went full-fledged with it. But I agree with you. He didn't start off that way, but he's been doing this for years. It's not like Myron just started doing this within the last couple of months. Myron has been doing this for years now. Riding the white supremacy wave, talking down on FBA, sitting in a room full of white supremacists, sitting in rooms full of white nationalists, disrespecting foundational black Americans. He's been doing it for years. He didn't wake up yesterday and decided he wanted to do it. He's been doing it for he's been doing this for the last 3 years. At least the last 3 years he's been doing this. He should have been called out a long time ago. The moment that he started grifting, hanging around those white racists, you should have called him out, because you know this guy personally. That's all I'm saying.
Of largely a cultural shift. White males feeling like they had little prospects, especially compared to their fathers and their forefathers, have been dissatisfied with the society, and they've been raging, as expressed by pint-sized individuals like Nerd Fuentes. And so as that white Christian nationalist movement was getting going, the tide of racism was rising. Why? Because when things aren't going well for you, blame other people. Don't blame yourself.
All I'm saying to Marquette is this. Yes, he didn't start out like that, right? But he's been doing this for the last 3 years. So he should have been called out 3 years ago. The moment he started grifting, hanging with white supremacists, brothers like you should have called him out right then and there. You should have nipped it in the bud instantly. Don't wait until he disrespects you personally to then call him out. Once Myron started grifting, hanging around white supremacists, disrespecting foundational black Americans, that situation should have been nipped in the bud instantly to let him know this will not be tolerated. All you FBA men that was hanging around him should have nipped it in the bud and told him this will not be tolerated, homie. The moment he started grifting, hanging with them white supremacists, y'all should have nipped that in the bud and checked that fool. Don't wait. Listen, homie, don't wait 3 years later to call him out. You should have nipped that in the bud instantly, big homie. That's all I'm saying. I don't have no smoke with Marquette, but I got to be honest with the brother. I'm not going to sugarcoat nothing. The moment he started grifting, hanging with white supremacists is the moment you should have called him out. Don't wait 3 years later to call him out. That's all I'm saying.
So he just rode that bandwagon. So he didn't come into the game like that. He transitioned into that. Come on now. Come on now. Let's talk about it. Yes, indeedy. We kicking real physics right now. I'm over here teaching history lessons. Walter comes in, he writes, how much value does the U.S. Department of Education have in terms of outcomes for black kids, as Jimmy Carter created for $10 billion per year in 1979? I don't think that it makes any sense for black children to be educated by the United States government. And especially during the Trump administration, we see how detrimental that could be. And that is specifically because of the ethnic history of the foundation.
That should have told you something. Like you said, Myron was a whole Fed. So he's used to cosplaying and working undercover. The dude was a whole federal agent or whatever he was. I know he worked for the government. I know he worked for law enforcement. So, yeah.
Black American. Now, here's the kicker. If I was a white father with a white son or daughter, I still wouldn't want them in American public school because it does not teach you skills.
He said Marquette was trashing FBA 2-3 years ago. I've heard some videos of him, kind of, ain't nothing wrong with criticizing FBA people because FBA people do need criticism, constructive criticism, right? But there's a difference between constructive criticism versus somebody who just has hatred for the group, hatred for the lineage. There's a difference. Now, I had people email me, Red Marquette was just talking greasy about FBA people 2-3 years ago. Now he's claiming FBA. All right, well, send me the videos. Send me the videos and I'll review some. I will have no problem reviewing some of them videos and doing a reaction to it. If you guys have those videos in your arsenal.
Provide you gainful employment. It doesn't cover the basic things like how to create a personal budget or how to do your own taxes. So it's largely useless in this day. That's why certain things I really know are core to being an adult who has the potential to be successful, like being able to budget. That's why I created a little mini course on budgeting, because you have to know that. But if your parents don't know and the school didn't teach you, then you go out in this world and you exercise the behaviors that will cause you to suffer for the next 50 years. And it's really not fair. To be honest with you, it's not fair. So I did my little part by immortalizing my knowledge in video that you guys can get. I think it's some silly amount of money. I don't know, like $28, maybe 50. I don't know, because I don't need it. I don't have to buy it, so I don't keep up with it. But it's some pathetic amount of money, but you need to know how to budget. Like if I asked you right now, how much money are you spending on housing? How much money are you spending on your investing? What percentage of your income are you saving? What do you allocate to groceries? If you can't tell me all of that from a percentage and from a discrete dollar amount, then you're losing. Shout out to Eric. Comes in by PayPal. He writes, the fact that they're rich and famous in Miami yet still struggle with women, that hurts, bro. That's the evil part. And still struggle with women shows their lack of character. If they had any substance, they wouldn't have to pay women a dime. They should be beating women off of them. But, do you guys see the screen? That's why they're not beating women off of them. Like, look, this is why. And bro's got him a little nose job, because look at the nose right here. That nose then changed up a little bit. These balls got more surgery than a streetwalker in Cartagena, in Medellin. These balls got all the surgeries. These balls are too cute, man. They are too cute nowadays. Look at this nose right here. This nose right here. It's changed, hasn't it? And look at this hairline right here. And this balding right here. It's changed, hasn't it? I just don't understand how someone like that can teach anybody confidence. They're not confident. You can't teach confidence when you're not confident. You can't. It's impossible.
His name is Abu Fuddy. Abu Fuddy. That's his real name. So he changed his name to Myron Gaines to blend in the cosplay. But the guy's real name is Abu Fuddy. That sounds like an African name or an Arab name. Definitely not an FBA name. Not at all. Abu Fuddy. Cosplaying as Myron Gaines.
It is utterly impossible. Because here's the thing. If you were, say you're out in the public, and then someone says, say it's like a whole group of people, a lot of women around, and somebody thinks they're getting clever, and they're like, Marquette, you got a bald head. You bald head. And I'll be like, Yes, I am the bald head lover. It doesn't affect me at all. Like, I feel good. You know, I still feel good. I'm still talking crazy. I'm still feeling like €1,000,000. You dig? There's nothing they could say that will take my confidence down any percentage, because I know who I am and I'm proud of the man that I am. There's nothing anyone could say. It wouldn't even bother me. And here's the funny part. I am
real. If you a foundation Black American and you coach, you put Myron in a position to cosplay. You put him in a position to finesse people because you co-signed the buffoonery. Just imagine if no FBA people would have ever co-signed this buffoonery. Just imagine. A lot of you guys co-signed Myron and you created a damn monster. You co-signed Pearly Things and created a monster. You guys co-sign all the wrong people. But when you come to a Real Ones podcast, we got to tell y'all to bless the like button. But you make these foreigners and cosplayers rich and successful. Look at all those Black men that co-sign Pearly Things. Look at all those Black men that co-sign Myron Gaines. And you want to talk about being goofy.
I'm so confident that half the time, if someone was trying to insult me, I wouldn't even take it as an insult. I just take it as them expressing their opinion. It wouldn't even bother me, because it's
foundational Black American men co-sign Pearly Things. They co-sign Myron Gaines. What's wrong with these people?
mostly not registering because my skin is that thick. If they're like, you're a bald head, I'm like, I am the bald head lover. You know, like I couldn't even think of anything that they could say.
I'm gonna do a stream on that tomorrow. If I don't do it later on today, I'll do it tomorrow. FBA men co-sign Pearly Things and Myron Gaines. I'm gonna do a whole show about that.
That would bother me. Whereas this guy looks in the mirror and is insulting himself. He looks in the mirror and hates what he sees so much that he goes under the surgeon's knife. I'm going to repeat that. He looks in the mirror and hates himself so much that he goes under the knife of the surgeon. We're in such a sick world. Let me tell you guys, you're not supposed to get surgeries except to repair, to preserve your life. That's what surgery is for. It's supposed to be a healing procedure. It is not for man to try to correct that which God has made, which God has selected for you. How could you be a Muslim and try to have a human being correct that which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has authored for you? You're no Muslim. You're a devil. You're shaitan. You're no believer. How could the hand of man be better at creating than the hand of God? It's impossible. But the problem is, just like females, because females are herd animals, they're hive animals. They want to all look good, but they want to look like each other, right? Men, we're supposed to be comfortable being what we are. That's the difference. Come on now.
I'm gonna do a whole nother part to this, man. I'm gonna break it down in sections, and I'm not gonna make it 3 hours long. They're gonna be like an hour and 30 minutes a piece. This is the first piece. Now I know this is the third stream that I did on this, but I got a few more episodes that I want to break down. I haven't finished breaking this whole situation down. But yes, man, FBA men co-sign Pearly Things and Myron Gaines. So much for discernment, so much for common sense and discernment.
Baby said it's gender affirming care. You dig? Bro is too cute. And it's crazy to be too cute when you.
This is my honest opinion. Somebody said, well, what's the fallout about? Well, Marquette is not calling. He's not calling Myron out for disrespecting FBA because Myron been disrespecting FBA for years. So that's not Saint's reason for calling him out. His reason for calling out Myron has something. It's something personal. I know for a fact that Myron Gaines got pissed off when Saint did a video with Cooley breaking down that Piers Morgan interview when he said that Myron had no business speaking on FBA business. I believe Myron got offended, and that was the downfall of their friendship. Ever since then, it's been shaky. But I said it before and I say it again. Marquette did not call out Myron for disrespecting foundational Black Americans. He's not calling them out for that. Myron's been doing that. He's calling Myron out over a personal issue, something behind the scenes. And like I said, the Piers Morgan situation, when Marquette broke down Myron being on Piers Morgan, saying that Myron has no business in FBA business, I truly believe that Myron got offended and been pissed off with Saint ever since then. I don't think their friendship has been the same since Saint said he can't speak on FBA business. Because Myron think like, well, hold on, I've been speaking on FBA business. Now all of a sudden you got a problem with me talking about FBA. I've been doing this. So when you have common sense and you put the pieces together, you would say, okay, Marquette is calling out Myron for something personal. This is bigger than him disrespecting foundational Black Americans. This is personal, because 4 months ago, if you go back to like December, maybe even November, Marquette said that Myron is still his good friend. He said Myron was still his good friend, despite the fact that he disrespects FBA every chance he get. He still said that Myron was his good friend. So we put the pieces together. We're connecting the dots. Marquette is exposing Myron over something personal, not for disrespecting foundational Black Americans. Let's set the record straight.
Ain't even cute. God damn it. God damn it. It's a terrible thing. Yes, indeed. We getting into it, ladies and saints. Shout out to Frank supporting the work. I also acknowledge Gary, and shout out to Saul, who just got the.
What I said is Myron didn't cut Saint off. What I said was Myron didn't like the fact that Saint told him that he can't be in FBA business. I didn't say that he cut Saint off. Myron didn't appreciate what Saint said about him when Myron went on that Piers Morgan show. So Myron saying, oh, I can't speak on FBA business no more. I'm an Arab and I'm not Black. Okay. Myron was offended about that. And ever since then, I believe their friendship has, it went downhill. And then this is not the only thing. I'm pretty sure a lot of things behind the scenes was happening as well. Then it got to the point to where Saint said, okay, I'm going to call you out now. I was quiet. I was quiet for years, but now it's time to call you out. But like I said, that was personal though. Saint decided to call out Myron for personal reasons because like Saint said, he said, I've been knew Myron was a goofy. Myron been doing goofy things for years, but I was silent. I didn't say anything about it because I considered this guy my friend. So I didn't say anything about it. Well, let me tell you something, Marquette. Not saying anything about it made him worse. It made him worse because he felt like, oh, I'm getting away with disrespecting FBA. So guess what? I'll continue to do it.
Basic training at school.com/Marquette. That's Marquett. Click classrooms. Shota Ramon writes.
So Myron knows he's not an FBA. He knows that. But when you think about Myron's FBA friends, they allowed him to disrespect FBA. That's why he's been doing it for so many years now. None of his FBA friends said anything to him. They felt like it was beneficial to be friends with Myron, so they tolerated Myron's disrespect of FBA people because they wanted to gain something personally. They wanted something to gain. Oh, well, I could get more exposure. Oh, I can go on the show and get more fans, and more fans is going to equal more money. So they were thinking about themselves. They didn't give a damn about the disrespect that he had for FBA. They swept that shit underneath the rug. All they gave a damn about was personal gain. They didn't give a damn about Myron disrespecting the FBA community. They didn't give a damn about it as long as they could make some money being friends with Myron. That's all they cared about. They were only thinking about themselves.
Frame and Fraud tried to replicate the assassin with a Telegram group that had sections in each state. It lasted less than 2 months before getting shut down because 2 individuals they put in charge tried to steal from the community. Oh, did steal money from the community. Damn.
Yeah.
And you see, that's the problem when you're doing something for money. It's just not the same. The reason all of our leaders within the SAS and all of our executives, all of our confirmed saints, the reason that I know that they're good is because I actually know them. It's because over the
Hey, listen. I think Marquette is very intelligent. He's an intellectual. He's a successful brother. You know, I respect that about Marquette. But like I said, when you co-sign a Gilligan like Myron, you put him in a position to finesse many people. That's exactly what happens when you co-sign a Gang Goofy Gilligan, right? You elevated him to a status that he should have never reached. That's what made it easy for Myron to finesse these men with these fake ass masculinity courses, right? So many people co-signed him in the FBA community. A lot of people co-signed him. I can go down the list of people who co-signed him, but I'll say that for the next stream. You know, I'm gonna get up out of here, you guys, man. Peace, love, and blessings. I'll be back with some more content. Hit the like button if you haven't already. No, support King Supreme. Shit, they already got enough support over there on Hidden Colors. Support, yeah, man, support Hidden Color 6, but support my platform. Ain't nobody telling nobody. I don't see other podcasters on their platforms telling people to support me. So if we're going to talk about any support, we need to support this platform. They got enough people over there supporting that already. But it's all love. You want to support, go ahead and support. But we're not going to promote other platforms on my platform because those people don't support my platform on their platform. That's all I'm saying. So peace to everybody. I'm going to get up out of here. I'm going to do a part 2 to this one, right? I'm going to do a part 2 to this. Peace to everybody. I'll be back with some more content. I'll be back later, man. I'm gone.